Okay, my name's Anson Hargrove, and I own 3 Teslas, Model S P85, the Model X 75D, and the Model 3 behind you. Probably the most, one of the most asked questions is, well, how do I take that car out of town? Doesn't do me any good because it only has so much range. There's no way to go anywhere. But what they don't realize, Tesla's the only one that has a supercharging network. And if you look on the screen right here, you can see all the charging stations across the U.S. You can pretty much go anywhere, all the way up into Canada, all the way down to Mexico. Matter of fact, I bought this car, Model X 75D, in New York City and drove it all the way back to Texas with no problems at all. Supercharged all the way. And this is the lowest battery that they make on a Model X. You can get up to 100 kilowatt pack. This 75 kilowatt pack, my range is 235 miles. And most of your superchargers are in between 60 and 180 miles apart. So it's no problem to go anywhere. And supercharging on the Model X and the Model S is free for life. So I get to travel for free anywhere in the U.S., which makes it really sweet. Yeah, a lot of times you'll get the question, well, how far does it go before you have to put gas in it? So that's a common myth. Of course, they're pure electric, so you don't have to put any gas at all. So, you know, they're kind of shocked when you tell them, no, it's all battery. And you go 300 miles on the charge. So that's a common myth. I get that all the time. Yeah, a lot of people think, well, where do they sell them? You can't buy them in Texas, for instance. Well, you can buy them in Texas. I bought the Model 3 in Texas and had it delivered to my home. So you can't go into the showroom and order one. You can go to the showroom, look at them and all that. But yeah, Texas has a ban. You can't, but you can order them online. And they deliver them either to a showroom, if you're close to a showroom, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, whatever. You just go pick it up. Or if you're a long ways away, like 300 miles, like I am, they deliver it to your house. So my Model 3, they delivered it right to my house. I ordered it on the internet. A few weeks later, they brought it to me, unloaded it, you know, showed me some stuff on it, and that was it. I mean, the buying experience is fantastic because you just order it on the internet, it shows up at your house. You know, what they don't understand is they call it the EPA equivalent on like the Model 3, 130 miles per gallon, and the Model S X around 100 miles per gallon equivalent. But basically, you know, we don't, you know, our electricity grid is derived not just from, you know, burning coal, which they do burn coal, but we've got, you know, especially in Texas, we've got wind turbines. I mean, a gazillion. They're going in all the time. You've got solar and wind turbines producing. Matter of fact, if you live in Dallas, I think it's TXU, you can charge after midnight because they've got so much excess wind energy. After midnight, from like midnight to 6 a.m. is free. So you can, your electricity is totally free because they have so much excess from the wind turbines. I don't see electricity going up because they'd have to raise it for everybody.
At their homes.
In the whole U.S., at their homes, right. Yep, and we mainly charge at the house. We only charge, you know, superchargers we use out on the open road, but we mainly charge at home. So that's a myth. I mean, that's just not going to happen. These batteries, they've already got Teslas with over 300,000 miles on the original battery way back in 2012, and still has only degraded about 7 or 8% of that battery. There's Teslas with over 200,000 miles that's degraded maybe 6%. My Model S P85, it charges 265 new. But now I've got 43,000, 44,000 miles on it, and it's still charging up 258, 259 miles. So it's lost like 6 miles in almost 50,000 miles of travel. So, and then another thing is the batteries from Tesla are warranted for 8 years, unlimited miles on the battery, motor, and gear train. So most of the time you're not going to own a car 8 years. So you got no worries. The battery's a non-issue. The chemistry, apparently they got it pegged. I mean, because the batteries are just, and probably the biggest reason that the batteries are lasting so long is because they have the most sophisticated battery management system, BMS. They're heated and cooled, and they're monitored 24/7. So they try to keep the batteries at the optimal temperature, and you know, I think that's the biggest reason why the batteries are lasting so long. Plus, they got the chemistry just right. Plus, they're always improving the chemistry. So the battery is just, you know, that was my first question when I started looking at this. Like, there's no way that battery's gonna last a few years, and then what are you gonna do? You have to replace it. But they're thinking they can get 800,000 miles out of these batteries with about 20% loss. So still at 800,000 miles, you'd have 80% of that battery capacity, which it's hard to believe, but that's what they're thinking. So, I mean, they've already got, like I say, already got Teslas with over 300,000 miles and counting. So it's pretty impressive.
Now here's a really big one. I mean, I give people a test drive in my car, and they later, and I show them how autopilot works, and later they're telling people that, hey, he could hop in the back seat and it'd drive itself, and I never told them that. It doesn't do that. Autopilot is just an extension of cruise control is what I call it. In other words, you have to have your hands on the wheel. I mean, tell me about what people tell you.
Well, a lot of times I'll tell them, you know, they've heard a lot of different stories, but a lot of times I'll tell them, you know, it can drive itself, but it's not level 4 autonomous. And so they're saying, well, you can go to sleep. You can get in the back seat and go to sleep. Exactly, I've heard that before. But no, it's like, you know, GM calls it a super cruise, but it is like a super cruise. You've got to keep your hands on the wheel. You've got to pay attention. Autopilot is fantastic. I use it all the time. I use it 90% of the time if I'm out driving on the open highway. But it's not going to see a mattress in the road. It's not going to see a tire in the road. So it's fantastic. I mean, especially on a windy day, and here in West Texas, we have so much wind where you're getting blown all over the road. You're really fighting it. With autopilot on, you just sit back and, you know, I rest my hand on the bottom of the wheel, and then I've got my hands on the wheel. You still pay attention, but it's doing all the work. So when you drive a couple hundred miles, you're a whole lot more rested with autopilot. It just takes the workload off. I mean, it's fantastic. It also, you know, it's got the front-facing radar, so it'll pace the car in front of you. So if a car's stopped or slowed down, it's going to see that car, it's going to slow down, it's going to stop. So it just takes the workload, but it's not full autonomous. It might be one day, but it's not now. But it is fantastic. I mean, I hate getting in the car now without autopilot. Yeah, when I first started looking at Teslas, that was my number one. I was like, how's the air conditioner gonna work? Because we're used to turn on the AC in an ICE car, internal combustion, and it loads the motor, and you can tell there's a load there. So you know you really gotta have some horsepower. But I asked a buddy of mine, Doug, in Dallas, that bought a Tesla. I said, before I ever bought one, I said, hey, how's the AC work, and how's that affect your range? And he said, it's nothing. He said, if you run that AC full bore going down the road on a road trip, it might pull 10 miles off your pack. I was like, really? He said, yeah, it's efficient. And I was like, that's hard to believe. But what they use, instead of a big, you know, huge piston type compressor that we're all used to, and I'm sure the newer cars have the rotary, they use a small rotary electric compressor. It's probably that big, and it doesn't draw much. I mean, even with the fans going. But we can turn the AC on here, but I can turn the AC, and we're setting the Model 3. I can run the AC full bore, full blast, and it might, on a road trip, 300 miles, whatever, it might pull 10 miles out of that pack. Same thing with the heat. The battery is so huge. I mean, this has got a 75 kilowatt pack in it. The battery is so big, you're just running maybe on the heating an 8 kilowatt heater. It doesn't phase that pack at all. I mean, that was my first question. I was like, how's that going to work? That's not going to work. But it does. I'll turn it on for you right here. So we're at level 10. It's blowing high. Battery's setting at 253. I could run this AC all day long, and that battery might pull down 10 miles.
Yeah, and in a regular car, you'd have to have the engine running. Here, you don't have to have anything running.
That's right. So what's really cool about Tesla when it comes to AC, I'll turn this off so we can hear. What's really cool is you can, if you run to the grocery store, and my wife does this all the time. She might make 2 or 3 errands, but she's been to the grocery store. She wants to keep it cool. She's got groceries in here. So you can get out, go to the next store, leave the AC running. You can leave it running all day while it's parked in the parking lot. You can go to the app, you can turn it on. You can turn the AC on, the heat on, whatever you want. And I do this all the time. If I'm running into a store on a hot day, I'll leave the air on. I just leave it running. The car's off, but the air's running. So I go in the store, I might be in there 20, 30 minutes, doesn't matter. I could be in there an hour. Air's running, doesn't affect the range hardly at all. Doesn't hurt the car, you can run it all day. People camp out in these things. I mean, they sleep in the back. They run the air or the heat all night long, and it's very minimal impact on the pack. So that's another myth. That's one thing I thought when I started looking at them, like, there's no way. But it's pretty impressive, and I'm surprised that it works so well. All right, the tax credit is not just for the rich. I mean, it's when Tesla hits 200,000 units in the U.S., then tax credit doesn't go away. It goes to $37.50. So all the people that have ordered Model 3s, that are buying Model 3s today, like this Model 3 behind that I purchased, I get the $7,500 tax credit. But when they hit that 200,000 unit mark, then it goes down to half of that, $37.50. So a lot of the people buying Model 3s in the future are going to get half the tax credit. So it's going to make it really affordable. I don't know where that myth came from exactly, but we do most of our charging at home. Probably, it depends on how much you travel, but 90 to 95% of my charging done at home. I only use superchargers out on the highway, but yeah, I've heard that. I don't know where they get that, but overall, as an industry, oil and gas is way more subsidized than the electric car industry.
And I think maybe where they get that we get free electricity from the government is when you buy a certain Model S or a Model X,
right?
Tesla will give you free electricity for life when you're on the road.
Free supercharging for life. Yeah, that's right.
And that may
but
be.
But not with the Model 3. Yeah. Yeah. The
right.
Model 3 you got to pay for, but it's really cheap.
Run by what it costs on a Model 3 usually when
I just took my Model 3, this one right here in the background. Me and my wife went to Dallas and back. We put about 1,000 miles on the car. The whole round trip cost was $23 supercharging. And every time you supercharge, it shows you, as soon as you're done, how much you paid.